Good morning, Marco. Welcome to your new purchase, which is the Toyota Land Cruiser. So we've got a 3 litre turbo diesel starting from the back. So we have a spare tyre on, which is slightly perforated, so it's still good for use. But if you could imagine, if you do want to use this long term and you're going to put this on, you might require a new tyre on that. So starting off with the rear, visibly you do not see any damage. We've only got a slight bit of adhesive here, so nothing wrong there. Registration is fine, and we also have a tow bar with very minimal rust for a 26-year-old vehicle. And then we've also got our exhaust here, which is very typical for diesel, a lot of carbon, but we shall get underneath the vehicle afterwards to have a look at all the hangers and boots. Okay, coming around the left hand side, this is probably the worst of the vehicle. So we have some sun fade here, which I believe is described by the owner itself. We'll have some key marks going along our rear panels, also some more lacquer peel, another key mark along our rear passenger door, and following on to the passenger front door. Okay, following our arch, we also have some lacquer peel along here going all across. The roof is slightly worse for wear, as you can imagine. So we have a lot of sun peel and lacquer peel along the top. Okay, coming down to the front of the vehicle again, so we've got a lot of lacquer peel along here, but not excessively too bad. Likewise, some more sun damage. Wind mirrors look fine. Coming to the front, headlights don't seem to have any damage. Likewise for the front bumper, we have a little crash bar here. Does actually seem a little bit loose in that sense, but that shouldn't be an issue. Slight bit of condensation inside the lights, but then again, no issue. Got a little bit of a rust bubble here and some little stone chip marks, but then again, for a 26-year-old vehicle, that's nothing to complain about. Okay, coming to the driver's side now. I believe it is mentioned by the owner itself that we do have some rust bubbles here and along the door, which are exposed. And likewise, a lot of lacquer peel towards the front. Going back over to the top again. And we've got driver's side door, which does seem to be missing a keyhole as well on the door handle. We've got a very hairline scratch here. And then coming back round to the back, that is our exterior tour of the car complete. Okay, welcome to the engine bay of the Toyota Land Cruiser. So we have 2 batteries, one here and one on the left hand side, which I'll pan to in a moment. So the the owner has advised me that he's changed both batteries, which do visibly look brand new. So what we're going to do is a quick multimeter test to see the voltage given by the battery before we started. So if you can sort of see that it says 12.8, so that indicates we have a very healthy battery. And what I'll be doing in a moment is starting the vehicle and checking the running voltage of the battery, which will suggest if our alternator is healthy and charging our batteries. So coming across now to our second battery, going back on the positive and negative probe, we are getting 12.81, so that suggests both batteries are healthy and we're getting a good voltage. Okay, so moving along to our engine bay, visibly it's looking very clean, which is a good thing. One thing I did notice is our coolant rail here, and our coolant bottle is visibly very dirty. As you can see inside, it's not the nice red color which we need in coolant, so that will definitely require a flush. I'm just trying to get you a side angle there. You can see very dirty, very grotty bottle. And this is our lid to our expansion bottle here, which is also very rusty as well, which does suggest that the coolant has gone bad and we're not getting the rust prevention properties in our engine. So I'm going to pop this back in, and as you see, that is our outlet there for our coolant bottle, so I'm going to pop that back in there. Engine oil cap, no sludge, it's looking very clean, so that's a very good sign for an engine. I'm going to pop that back on to there. Moving on to our power steering fluid, visibly again looking very clean, which is what you want for power steering. When I turn the vehicle on, we'll be able to hear if there's any grinding noises likewise, but this is good. It does look like ATF for transmission fluid, so that's a good sign. again. Okay, moving on to our other fluids. We have our brake fluid here, and just popping this one open, and again it is looking very clean. It's filled up to the max, so that is a good sign as well. So finally, we do have to check our dipsticks. So I'm just doing all these checks on our fluids before starting the actual vehicle, just to confirm on my side that it will start fine. So there we go, we have oil on our dipstick. It's not looking the cleanest, but it is enough to start our vehicle, so that's fine. I'm gonna pop that back in. And final one, it does look to me with age as well that our timing belt here is looking slightly deteriorated. It's still tensioned quite well, but in certain points as well, you can see there is a little bit of rubber damage here, so I would be fairly careful about this and would change that in the near future. But apart from that, I'm very happy with the engine bay, and the car is looking solid. We're going to go ahead to start the vehicle. The owner has advised me that there are 2 keys. So as mentioned on the driver's side door, it does not actually have a key barrel, so we do have to unlock it with the electric module. So jumping in, the car is in park. I'm going to put the key in the ignition, and we'll just so we started up first time, which is good. I'm just going to show you lot the dash quickly. Just give me 1 second. Okay, so no unusual lights on the dashboard, which is good. So that's just our door open and handbrake up, so that's a good sign. And we're idling, very nice as well. I'm just going to quickly come back to the exhaust to see if we have any unwanted fumes. So I'm not getting any white smoke, I'm not getting any blue smoke, which is a good sign, which don't suggest that there's any water or head gasket damage. So this is a very good sign. It's burning fuel well. Okay, now I'll be testing the alternator. So we already checked our battery voltage when the car was not running. Now the car is running, I'm going to check the voltage, and we are getting a healthy 14.3 volts, which shows an excess of 2 volts, which means our battery is charging and our alternator is healthy. Okay, now going to our second battery. I'm just going to pop this here so you can see, going positive to negative again, and we are getting 14.31, so which is 2 volts over our healthy, which suggests our battery and alternators are fine. Okay, so for my next step before I inspect the underside of the car, we're going to complete a diagnostics check with my diagnostic reader. However, the actual diagnostic port here is a different outlet to the input that I have, due to this being a 1997 vehicle and not all cars having the correct diagnostics OBD 2 port till late 2000. So unfortunately I cannot check any diagnostics on the vehicle. However, I am positive that there's nothing wrong with the car due to the sounds I'm hearing. The sounds doing all well and no physical lights appearing on the dashboard. So just to show you again, so we only have our door open, which will disappear when I close the door, and handbrake. So I'm convinced that the car electrically there's no faults, and mechanically it is fine. I'll be opening the rear of the car. So we have a handle just below here, as you can see, and this exposes us to the rear of the vehicle. So and again, we've got no damage on the door visibly, so we're looking fine. Hinge, it's all bolted in, very minimal rust. And these seats are foldable. Okay, we are just on our passenger sides underneath the car, looking at the sump. Visibly it's looking very good, no oil residue on there, so that's a good sign. Coming over to our passenger side shocks and drop links, visibly looking very good for its age, no cracks or any breakages in the shock as you'd expect. Coming over to our CV boot, it is slightly deteriorated, however there's no rips in the boot, so no possible ingress of dirt. However, it is something to note that would have to be changed eventually. Brake lines looking very good, just slightly dirty. And coming over to our passenger side tyre, drop links again looking fine, brakes looking fine as well. Finally, just to show, we've got even amount of wear on the tyre, so that suggests the tracking and suspension is fine. Okay, so this is rear passenger side again. I'm just going to be looking at our wear in the tyre. So again, looking very even. So that suggests tracking is fine. This is our rear. That seems to be our fuel tank there. Just looking at our arch. Very minimal rust apart from there, but again, structurally, that's looking all fine. Chassis as well, looking very good. And we also have one drop link here as well, which is fine, no damage on that. So, okay, so we're currently on the rear of the car. This is our rear axle. Again, very minimal rust on the axle itself. Brake shields looking all fine. That's good. I don't see any leakages or any signs of a leak, so that's also a very good sign there. And then shocks just up there, also looking very good. Don't seem to be any damage or breakages in there, so suggesting all works fine. And then we also got our stabilizer links there, also looking very good. Side rear, looking at all the exhaust brackets, looking all fine. Again, rust is present, but as mentioned, that is common with age. But visibly, nothing looks like it needs replacing. Quick tour off the inside of the vehicle. So this is our driver's door card. Very minimal damage, as you can see. Could benefit with a clean, but fair to say the whole car could do with a good detail. But apart from that, no bad damage. This is our driver's steering wheel. Again, light damage on the steering wheel, but visibly for a 26-year-old car, would expect nothing less. Our dash is looking very clean. Center console is looking good. We also have a aftermarket radio put in. Let's start this up. So lights working, that's fine. And it's coming across to our passenger rear side, sorry, driver rear side. Door cards fine. We have electric windows, seat belts retracting fine, locking in fine. And then we also have another 2 seats, so this being a 7-seater vehicle. Right side tyre, again getting even wear, which suggests your suspension and tracking is fine, so it's a good sign again. Rear driver side, just looking at the arch, very minimal rust for the age apart from here, so that is one thing just to notice. But then again, looking fine. Drop links, that looks pretty new, so it's looking good actually. Chassis again fine on this side. The rear of the car, looking at the exhaust, doesn't seem to be any holes or damage or breakages in there, so it's also another good sign. Just following that up. Brackets looking all good, hangers looking all good, so no issue. And this is our chassis over here. Again, very minimal rust for its age. Structurally looking very good. Just far over there, that's our brake lines again. No corrosion, looking good. Slightly better angle here of our rear shocks and dampers. So I'm not seeing any oil or any signs of damage apart from the rust. And this part here shows that has been moving, so it is transgressing the dirt really well. But apart from that, it's all looking good. Just going to our rear discs, they definitely need changing. Owner said that will be done along with the pads as well, so that's just one thing to mention, that the rear discs and pads are going to be changed. Front wheel discs and pads look fine, no issues at all. Suspension as well looking very good, just that this is peeled off the bracket, this brake line, but I don't see that getting in the way of any moving components. But apart from that, all looks good. Definitely sounds like a diesel.
Yeah, it's got a nice turbo whistle.
Yes, indeed. Yeah, just to mention, no unwanted sounds, sounding fine, it's stopping fine, which is always a good sign. Indicators all working well as tested before.
We can go down to the main road and turn left.
Go for it.
Give us more of a run.
Your wipers working? Perfect. So whilst we're here, we'll just quickly check the AC as well. Whilst we're running.
Yeah, that bit's gone.
Yep. So yeah, it's currently about 15 degrees in the UK. It's a lot colder in this car with the AC running. That's perfect, blowing nice and cold. And we're going to crank up to hot now. And that's instantaneous. Even though you can't feel it in the video, you're just going to have to go off my word. But that's running all fine. Alright, we're just going to do a little pull if traffic permits. So we just went for a test drive the car. Visibly I'm very happy with how it's driving. So there's just 4 things to note. So 1 being the coolant requires flushing in the vehicle. 2, it's going to require locking wheel nuts all the way around, which the owner is going to provide. So 3 being the rear discs, brakes, pads. So apart from that, that's the only things I would mention that require doing to the car. And 4th, sorry, he said he will be servicing the vehicle, which will include air, oil,